Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Michelle Perry of Successful Diligence LLC. Michelle, it's great to have you on the show.
I am so honored to be here and excited to chat.
Definitely, the honor is all ours. I'm blessed enough to be a guest on your show, so I am blessed to have you on the show and now hear about all the awesome things that you're doing. And before we did that, I wanted to read a little bit more about Michelle so you can hear about some of those awesome things. Michelle established herself as a subject matter expert over the course of her career as a clinical social worker in the field of child welfare that spanned over 20 years. She then transitioned into the corporate world where her leadership and coaching skills were refined, producing results in all that she works with. As an empowerment coach, podcast host, speaker, #1 international best-selling author, and online course creator, Michelle contributes to the journey of others by supporting them to see results and experience an increase in confidence and momentum in their lives. Michelle, great to have you on the show. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I sure am. I feel really special and fancy after you read my bio.
Hey, when you feel special because you're doing special things and you help so many other people feel that way. So I appreciate you for all the work you're doing and all the awesome time that you're taking today. And so just to kind of get everything started, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on what I call your CEO story. We'll let you get started with all awesome work you're doing.
So my CEO story is so interesting because I haven't called myself a CEO until this year. But my business started actually back in 2005 when I got the name and did absolutely nothing with it except for get a website, and then forgot about it, went to college, went to grad school, lived my life, became a clinical social worker, completely stopped paying attention to myself and burned out and became a person I didn't recognize. And so then I had to shift, went into corporate America, where my coworkers were so supportive, but they also started to pay me unsolicited for coaching and consulting. And me being business minded said, oh, I need to monetize this. And that's where my coaching business started. 2 of my clients were podcasters, fell in love with podcasting. That's where the podcast came from. Episodes went viral. That's where the school came from. And then, of course, the book was published last year in 2020 and went to #1 in 3 countries, 5 categories on Amazon. And we're just moving and grooving this year and growing and expanding. So that's where the CEO came in 2021.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate kind of like the organic nature of everything. And sorry, of course, you had to experience that burnout. But I think so many times when we go through stuff in life, it seems to propel us to where we should be. And as you said, like you were just kind of naturally doing something, and then all of a sudden, the people you were working with were beating down your door to actually work with you more, and it sounds like pay you.
Yeah, and what I had to do was pay attention to the season of life and what was happening. And paying attention is the core of my message, right? You have to pay attention because it saves lives. It saves other people's lives, but it also saves your own. And when you pay attention to what's happening around you, who is coming to you, what is coming to you, you're able to monetize and utilize it for purpose. And purpose for me is not why something happens to us. It is, what do you do with the experience of what has happened to you? That is what purpose is. And so paying attention to that, you end up walking into your purpose.
Yeah, and that's so huge. And I feel like and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes it's easier said than done to be able to pay attention. That's why a lot of times people outside of ourselves are able to say, hey, you're really good at that. Hey, this seems to be something that you're naturally doing, because I feel like sometimes we take our gifts, our talents, those things we do naturally for granted.
Yeah, most of the time, if most people are not aware until they pay attention to the feedback, right? And let's just put it out there, nothing in life is easy. If you are breathing on earth as a human being, life is going to bring you challenges and situations and experiences. Nothing is easy. But the key, I think, is to continue to show up in your life in truth, which is as your true self, value-based living, and to keep walking, never stop walking, because that is how you achieve your purpose and get to your destiny and your destination in life.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that you said keep walking, because I think so many times, I think I read somewhere where it said like when we're trying things and sometimes going through life, we kind of have to think of ourselves as being like children, because I think when there's a child that's learning how to walk and the child falls down, no one yells at the kid like, walking is not for you, you're not cut out for this, find something better to do. You prop the child up, you tell them to keep going. And so many times we have to remind ourselves of that as well too, is keep walking, keep going, make sure we focus on those things.
Yeah, and when the child falls down, we actually clap and celebrate for them. So we celebrate their failure, we celebrate the progress, and we really need to do that for ourselves as well. It's really important to celebrate those little wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I wanted to drill down a little bit more, hear a little bit more about your business. I know you have your book, your podcast, you're a coach, and you're doing so many phenomenal things. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business and anything else you may not have touched on and how you work with the clients?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. As I up leveled to CEO status, I got myself a executive consultant. And I think it's so important as a leader, you have to also be a really good follower. And so what I learned is I don't do free. So I have consultation, I have coaching, where I work with people to clarify, where are you? Where do you want to go and how do you get there, right? So that's the coaching consultant piece. And what I help people, I don't help, I'm taking the word help out of my vocabulary, because I empower, encourage, and equip people to live a life that they really want to be living and want to get up for on a Monday morning. And then the people that are not able to have that one-to-one contact with me, I have my podcast, which is free on all listening platforms. And I've got a YouTube where there's selected episodes there as well. And so you can get the free content as well. It's not as deep dive as the one-to-one, but you can still get quality content through the podcast. It's called the Successful Diligence Podcast. I also have the Successful Diligence School, where I do online courses on legacy building, gratitude, mindset, complete life transformation, again, to empower, equip, and encourage you meaning whoever is wanting to live their life in truth and achieve their destiny. And then I also have my book, of course, on Amazon, The Pebble in My Shoe.
Nice. I absolutely appreciate that. And I definitely had to write that down. Empower, encourage, and equip. Those are 3 E's that are extremely powerful. And I love that, because I think so many times, and I don't know if this was behind why you decided to use those words instead of help. I feel like sometimes when you feel like you help somebody, sometimes it's creating that reliance. You don't feel empowered to be able to do it yourself. So you being able to do that, I feel like not only quote unquote helps that person, but on an even deeper level, it empowers them to feel like they can give more and feel like they're complete as well.
Well, quite transparently, the other person is doing the work. So I'm just sharing the resources, the knowledge, the expertise that I have to assist and to get, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so there's this specific expertise that I have, having lived through, overcome, conquered, as well as having been educated. And so I've got resources that you can use to be empowered, and no one walks your life with you except for you for the entirety of your life. And so no one can do the work for you. You have to do the work yourself. And so that's why I chose to eliminate help and go to empower and equip. And then I'm an encourager by nature. So I'm always encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. I love and appreciate that. And so would you consider that to be what I like to call your secret sauce, the thing you feel kind of sets you apart? Is it that ability? What I hear is for you to be able to kind of quote unquote see the forest for the trees. Like you said, it's not so much about, rolling up sleeves, doing the work for somebody, but it's understanding, maybe even seeing something before they're able to be able to see it. Do you consider that to be what I like to call your secret sauce?
It's interesting because the secret sauce is the ability to have insight into a person and a person's situation that they, because they're in it and they're living it, they don't see. And yes, and one thing that I do very well is, because of my clinical background, I'm able to go to those deep places and and empower people. I'm in process here to
Yes.
empower people and equip them to move through whatever it is that is blocking them in that moment of their journey to get to the next step. And so there's a specific skill set that, unless you're trained and unless you've lived to earn that experience and that insider knowledge, you won't have it. And so that is something that I do bring to the table that is unique. So yeah, absolutely.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And I would even say, there's more than a skill. It's definitely a personality, a person that it requires to be able to do that, especially just being a social worker. But I think being able to kind of give of yourself, but also understand, how sometimes experiences in life or things happen where it can block somebody from potentially taking that next step, and being able to be attuned to that, aware of that, and still kind of understand I guess, the grace that it takes in order to be able to help somebody with that, and then push them forward to some degree, is absolutely huge.
Yeah, and there's also an aspect of I have a gift of bearing the burden, of sharing the burdens with
Mm,
people. And so I can empathize really, really well. And I've learned how to not integrate empathy into who I am so I don't burn out anymore, right? I've learned how to
yeah.
differentiate that. And I also think part of what I bring to the table that's unique is a very specific focus on language and the use of language and understanding that we all need to be communicating effectively. And it's really interesting how many people do not know how to do that. Even as adults, seniors, whatever age stage of the journey you're in, communicating effectively is an art as well as a science. And so that's also part of my unique selling proposition I bring. That's part of the uniqueness of me that I bring to the table to, again, equip people with that skill set of how to do that.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And I think that if we think back to like our childhood and maybe our schooling, there wasn't a course that kind of taught us to talk about those things, to communicate those things. And you're absolutely right. Some of us, are able to understand that. Some of us aren't able to kind of communicate that as well. So it's so important to be able to kind of lean on somebody that makes that happen. So definitely appreciate you for doing that. And I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
There's two things. I'm gonna take liberty here. The first
Go for
thing
it.
is the ability to pay attention effectively. And I talk about it in my book a lot because people don't understand what that is. It's not just noticing, and it's more than self-awareness. Paying attention is being mindful. And so that's the first hack, because unless you are aware and telling the truth about what is really going on, you're not going to make any progress. And then the second hack that I do, and it's not really a hack, it's not really a habit either, it's part of who I am now, is implementing gratitude. Gratitude changed my life. And it started with, I'm grateful to be on this side of the dirt. That was all I had when I started. And it
Mhm.
grows. And so gratitude can be small, can be large, but implementing it effectively every day is so important.
Yeah, I think that's so huge. I love obviously being able to be mindful and being aware, because I think so many times we can mindlessly go through life, through our days, and so many different things. So to be able to kind of understand that is absolutely huge. And I love how gratitude hasn't become, kind of a checkbox that may do every day. It's become a part of you and what you see. And I think, and correct, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like when you start to adapt that or understand that, you see it everywhere. It starts to kind of manifest itself in so many things that you do and see, and you get to really appreciate every aspect of life.
It's really a state of being, because
Mm.
I always challenge people to call my bluff on this. I can take any situation, anything, and reframe it into a positive. I no longer battle with negative self-talk or negative self-narratives because of gratitude. Gratitude enables you to have neural pathways that get reinforced, that release happy serotonin and dopamine, that help you to see the world with new glasses. And when you are looking through a new lens, you will see what you're looking for. If you're looking to be grumpy, you will find reasons to be grumpy. If you're looking to be grateful, you will find reasons for gratitude.
Yeah, that's so huge. And I think on a much simpler level, a lot of times when you say, I never see your red car, and then you start to think about that, you start to see red cars. So we have to be very aware, as I love that you put, related to like what we're looking at and how we're kind of cultivating our minds, but also the words and things that we're saying as well too, because they manifest themselves into the life that we have and the business that we have.
Language is so important because what you speak out of your mouth is making room in the earth for it. And so that even you saw earlier in our conversation where I'm diligently working to eliminate the word help, because for me, I learned something from someone else about the word help and blah, 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 longer than we have time to talk about. But there's stronger language to really express what I want to say. And when you use effective language, it gets your message across to the listener who can receive what it is you really are saying, not the fluff, but the meat and the heart of what it is you want to communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you happen to a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Yes, I think in terms of business specific, one thing I've noticed that has been really, really life-changing is I'm not able to hire a virtual assistant yet. However, hiring Calendly as my scheduler and utilizing systems has been so life-changing. You cannot do everything by yourself.
Yeah, that it's so huge. And I think a lot of times we don't realize it. And there's like even studies that say like, I guess teams and organizations are getting smaller and smaller, largely because of technology. And I don't think, and we talked about, language and mindset and understanding. I don't think we sometimes realize the technology we can lean into, like a Calendly, allows us to be our first hire before we have a physical person, because it allows you to save time and energy and spend more time in your zone of genius.
As well as grow. In terms of my podcast and in terms of my consultation and my strategy calls, there's been X growth simply by implementing Calendly, because I don't have to send, it automates your emails, it puts it on your calendar. So I don't have to remember and think. And it's a load, and I can sleep better because I don't have all these things running through my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. As if we don't already have enough things when we're running our business that we have to realize that, oh, we didn't send a reminder for the person to have their meeting the next day. This takes care of all of that and allows you again to be more present and more focused on the things that are actually moving the needle forward.
And to pay attention to those important things like self-care as well, because
Yes.
that's the other tip I have. I'll say I took three. I took a lot of liberty here, but self-care is key. Self-care is so key, because if you burn out, you can't serve people. If your cup is empty, you have nothing to pour out. And so you cannot give what you don't have. You've got to have proper sleep, hydration, mental health, physical health. Self-care it should be a non-negotiable for every CEO and business owner. It's not, but hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that it's definitely progressing towards that. And I think something you said is that you're a work in progress. And I think we're all work in progresses. So it's so important that we get all these hacks and nuggets and all these things that we can do to understand ourselves. But we have to really understand that as we drive our businesses forward, if we have an empty cup, as you said so well, there's nothing to pour from. There's nothing to give from. There's nothing that we can provide to our clients and our customers. So it's so important to take care of self, to set out time and energy towards that, or we can't really be of service and we do hit that burnout wall and we can't really do much else.
Exactly. And tell the truth about it. You're not alone. Everybody goes through it. Everybody is a work in progress. There is no perfection, in my opinion. It's an illusion. We strive for excellence, but it's okay not to be okay. But it's also okay to tell the truth, because people value that. And your audience, your customer, will be able to recognize when you are walking in truth, talking in truth, and serving in truth versus faking it till you make it.
Absolutely. And I'm a big believer in connection. And I think a lot of times when you are able to say, hey, I don't have it all figured out. Hey, I'm not perfect. Hey, I made a mistake, whatever it might be, that actually connects you sometimes a lot more than we realize, because we all make mistakes. We all are imperfect. And we all are kind of progressing towards where we hopefully are going to be.
Exactly. At the same time, bringing what you do have to the table, which is uniquely yours. So
Yeah.
it's a balance.
Absolutely. And so I want to ask you now my absolute favorite question. I know you said you transitioned to this word, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. So we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Michelle, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Being a CEO to me the first word that comes to mind is responsibility, because as a CEO, you are the top leader that is responsible, period. The buck stops with you. Decisions, direction, vision, all of the things, which is, whoosa, can we take a breath? But it also means discipline, which equals freedom. And so for me, CEO is being that leader that is inside of you, implementing discipline, which equals the freedom to be able to live the life that you want to be living. And a CEO is a great way to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that word responsibility and discipline, because I think so many times we don't realize that the responsibility we have is, to ourselves, is to our clients, our customers, and our team members, whoever that might be. We have such a strong responsibility, but I think so many times we think that it just happens at the snap of a finger, but really it's the diligence, the regularity of doing things on a regular basis that amounts and gets us to where we want to be. So I love that definition, because it reminds us of what we are called to do, and a lot of times what the weight that we have, but at the same time, what it takes to really get to where we want to be.
Exactly. It's through the diligent efforts that you will achieve success, which is where the name of my company came from.
Absolutely. Successfully diligent. Well, Michelle, truly appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you, subscribe to the podcast, get a copy of the book, and hear about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Yeah, thank you so much. All the things are at successfuldiligence.com. And just like I end my podcast, I will offer this: keep walking. Never, ever stop walking, because if you continue to walk, you will reach your destiny, your destination, and your purpose. And on the journey, I always encourage people to always, always choose gratitude.
I absolutely love that. We will have the links and information in the show notes. Michelle said it perfectly, so I will not say anything more. Thank you so much, Michelle. I truly appreciate you for all the awesome work you're doing and the time you took today and what you stand for on an even deeper level. So thank you so much again, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
It's been such an honor. Take care.